What's up, you guys? I thought this filter was kind of fun and funky because I realized these topics that came up today in my conversation with Casey Howell, meditation teacher. We did a video Facebook Live together. He came to my house. And part of what came up in the conversation feels like part of the spirit of the season, which I'm noticing, which seems to include this like spookiness, right? So I thought this filter was kind of fun and kind of spooky, right? So yeah, if you come on here live or you check this later, then I wanted to share that some of what came up, and these are maybe some spooky aspects for us to visit as part of being human, but they're actually also very freeing aspects, I feel, if we embrace them as a truth of being human. So, and they're both I words, and one of them is that this idea of impermanence, that when we can recognize that everything is impermanent, right? And then the other I word that's kind of a little bit spooky to become more aware of is imperfect, right? And so to realize that maybe everything in life and even ourselves is going to have this aspect that's going to be impermanent, like nothing lasts forever, perhaps. Impermanence, and then imperfection, right? To be imperfect. And part of what came up in my conversation with my friend Casey, who teaches so wisely from many years of teaching and studying and being in the world of meditation and traditions that have taught us meditation, is that part of embracing this impermanence and imperfection, right? Well, what's so interesting is that if we look at what's usually happening in our minds, which is what we get to do with a lot of these practices, is just become a lot more self-aware and take that look at what we are doing in the mind, which is such a part of our experience, right? But when we become more self-aware, that we can start to take a look and notice that the mind is usually going for the total opposites of those potential truths in life. That if everything is imperfect, if everything is impermanent, that the mind, part of us anyways, wants everything to be perfect, right? And permanent. So it's this interesting situation to be in as a human, to have part of us, maybe our mind or whatever we want to call it, wanting to be pushing for the perfect job, the perfect relationships, right? The perfect life. And then also looking for things that just feel permanent, right? We want that sense of security or lastingness. But then to interestingly embrace that that is not possible really or true with maybe just about every realm of life, that every realm of life is going to have its imperfections, including ourselves and our relationships, right, and everything in life, and the impermanence. So, but I do feel like these are spooky subjects, right? Like tough to wrestle with, perhaps, that we even are impermanent and imperfect, right? And that life is going to be impermanent and imperfect. But then if we instead, though, I feel like here's the reason worth sharing this, is because if we can embrace, maybe even enjoy, right, that everything is going to be imperfect and impermanent, it could really like sweeten our experience, right? And help us embrace it and know that it is fleeting, right? Nothing does last forever. And so to be more in that gratefulness, that awareness, right? That realization, that wisdom. And these are wisdom. And I remember my friend Casey was saying that that's part of the wisdom of these traditions of things like Zen and Tao and various traditions that have taught us things like meditation. And so this is part of how we can see these practices can be so transformative too, because then when we just start to realize that we're doing this with ourselves, right? That part of us keeps looking for things to be perfect and permanent, but yet part of us is realizing that nothing in life is perfect or permanent, right? That maybe that's where, and since I seem to be talking about yoga a lot of the time, which remember yoga means union, so maybe the union perspective is that you can embrace that nothing's permanent, nothing's perfect, right? And let that help us relish in life because it isn't permanent, right? And maybe appreciate more what we do have and who we are because nothing's perfect, right? I don't know. I don't know about you, but that feels good to me. And even if it has its spooky aspects to deal with and realize and open to and roll with, right? That nothing's permanent and nothing's perfect, including ourselves. I'm still digesting that one too, because I want to be perfect and I want to be permanent, right? But I'm also happy to move into the wisdom that nothing's perfect, nothing's permanent. And that's not having to be spooky, right? Or scary or upsetting or bad news, right? But instead something that can help us just rise to the occasion of life and make of it what we can, right? Because like Casey was saying even in our talk today, that all we really know is here and now. And that does include that we don't know, if we're even going to be alive tomorrow, right? So that can be the kind of awareness that can feel spooky or like a little too mortal for us, right? Or morbid. But do we want to forget that that actually is true? That at any moment, right? That just seems to be what is possible, right? That we don't know how much longer we get to be alive even, right? So I'm just all about more and more making the best of this life, right? And cherishing it, but bringing in the awarenesses, things like impermanence, imperfection, to help me enjoy it more, right? But yet realize the truth of it, that it is impermanent, so I might as well make the best of it, right? So thanks for listening in this spooky filter, and happy Halloween-ish time of year to you. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one out there. Namaste.